Of course, here is the story adapted to the mid-1960s United States, with the music cues removed. The Curse of the Red Gambler, a nightmare in the Arizona desert, ****, a dusty, forgotten mining town called Crimson Creek, Arizona. The mid-1960s, in the shadow of the Cold War, there were places the shine of the American dream couldn't reach. Crimson Creek was one of them. In the mid-1960s, a wave of strange and horrifying birth defects began to afflict the newborns in this isolated town. Some were born without arms or legs. Others came into the world with skin like a serpent's scales, or with a single, cyclopic eye. While birth defects were a known part of life, the situation in Crimson Creek was of a different, more sinister magnitude. The horror of this event wasn't just known by the townfolk. Whispers of it spread across the state. It seemed nearly every newborn was afflicted. The townspeople began to believe a curse, or a plague, had fallen upon them. Desperate for a solution, the community decided to seek out a woman known for her knowledge of the occult, a practitioner some called the Red Gambler. You might remember her from the popular drive-in horror film, The Devil's Deal, where she was introduced as Arizona Annie. The story of the Red Gambler, rooted in this very soil, was filled with such terrifying elements that just the telling of it was enough to unnerve anyone. So, if you're sensitive to horror, consider this your warning. Hoping to understand the strange affliction, the townspeople hurried to her doorstep. The Red Gambler, a severe woman with piercing eyes, listened carefully to their problems, and finally promised to uncover the source of this strange phenomenon. With a stern expression, she turned to the villagers and said that these events were a punishment for their sins. She demanded that each family bring her one of their afflicted children so she could discern the face of the evil energy that had gathered there. One witness, whose account was later filed in official records, described the scene. "I only saw the Red Gambler once, but the respect people had for her power and knowledge deeply impressed me. One night, they brought her a newly born, diseased child. She had gathered the mothers of the other children in her yard. About 15 women stood there, holding Bibles, collectively reciting the verses she commanded them to. At that time, the Red Gambler placed a newborn baby one without eyes, just skin where they should have been, to a crib. The townspeople were there too. She began drawing eye shapes on the child's face and scribbling strange writings. Within minutes, she was shouting words I'd never heard before, in a rising, chanting voice. It was then that everyone present, including myself, witnessed a black shadow begin to approach the crib. This dark shadow took the child and swiftly fled. At that moment, everyone screamed and scattered in panic. None of us had ever seen anything like it. I heard later that despite what happened, others from surrounding villages still brought their children to her. The event repeated itself 4 or 5 more times. What was that black shadow that took the children? What kind of power could do such a thing? These questions haunted everyone at the time. Yes, you heard one villager's testimony, but the events didn't stop there. Listen to the story of a father who took his children to the Red Gambler. I had 2 children, and both were born sick. My first child's arms and hands were malformed, not in the right places. My other child was in a condition I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. His skin resembled a snake's, forked and scaled. When we heard the name the Red Gambler, we went to her and explained the situation. She was known as a healer who could cure children of this sickness, and our hopes rested on her. The Red Gambler didn't ask for money or anything else. She told us to give her our newborn, the one with the snake-like skin. She said that to remove the plague and curse upon us, we had to do this. She claimed that, God willing, any children born after this would be healthy. But her demands didn't stop there. She told me to kill a wild boar, skin it, and bring it to her. Furthermore, she instructed us to drink a spoonful of the boar's blood every night after midnight. Though these requests shocked us at first, we decided to follow her instructions for the sake of our future children. Our faith in her was absolute at the time. We did exactly as she said. Every night we drank the boar's blood. We would hear frantic, scurrying footsteps inside our house until dawn. My wife would wake up from sleep screaming in the name of God, only to then blaspheme before fully waking. These events disturbed us deeply. When the appointed day came, I took our child and the boar's hide to her. At her house, I met other families with diseased children, all waiting with a mix of anxiety and hope. The grief and expectation on their faces reflected what I felt inside. The Red Gambler wrapped the boar's hide around the newborn child. As she performed this strange ritual, she wrote unintelligible symbols on the hide. She turned to me and asked 3 times, "Do you sacrifice your son to lift this plague?" Each time, I answered, "I do." At that moment, the door to the room we were gathered in swung open by itself. A black shadow snatched the baby, swaddled in the boar hide, and carried it away. We didn't understand what that shadow was, but everyone in the room screamed and fled. The villagers, now deprived of their children, hoped that in a few years their new babies would be born healthy. But unfortunately, those children were also born with defects, and their lives took a turn for the worse. In response, the townspeople gathered again and went to the Red Gambler's house. But no one answered the door, and there was no sign that anyone lived there anymore. Regarding this, the sheriff's department records contain the town mayor's testimony. The people were angry. They had sacrificed their children to be rid of the plague, but their lives had only gotten worse. A mob of 20 or 30 people from the surrounding towns gathered at my door, demanding I accompany them to the Red Gambler's house. The mayor went with the townspeople to her house, and they broke the door down. The place looked as if no one had lived there for years. The entire house was covered in a thick layer of dust, as if it hadn't been touched in decades. The Red Gambler was gone. The strangest part of the story is this. The sheriff's investigation found no record that such a woman had ever existed. Despite ruining the lives of many people in the region, the Red Gambler left no trace. No information about her or her parents was ever found. Her true nature remains a mystery, leading some to believe she was a jinn or an ifrit that had come to the American Southwest, preying on desperate families. What happened to the children taken by the shadows, and what was the true nature of the objects the Red Gambler used in her rituals? It all remains a secret. So, what do you think? How much of this story, passed down from person to person, is real? I am especially curious to hear from viewers in Arizona and the surrounding areas about what they know of this legend. Until the next video.